They spoke about his agenda and going at only certain parts of the country, for example, cities and places that the president views as some sort of hostile territory because they happen to be governed by an opposition party, which, remember, very recently he's threatened more charges, for example, threatening to indict and jail the mayor and governor of Illinois. And these are not idle threats when you see the many indictments we've already covered. Here's what it looked like today.
And we're just at the start. We're going to go into other cities that we're not talking about purposely. We're going to have a surge of...
Are also on full display. In Chicago, protesters dealt with a shocking scene, dozens of agents using tear gas and smoke grenades, a scuffle that was sparked by a car chase on the south side of the city. And there's security footage from the Chicago Sun-Times that shows a white SUV driven by agents apparently colliding with this red car, which sent it into a parked vehicle, not exactly enhancing safety. The occupants fled on foot, though. They were arrested. DHS says they were undocumented or illegal immigrants. But the Sun-Times report says the apparently intentional crash was a risky move by law enforcement. Chicago police, of course, quote, barred from causing a collision with another vehicle during a pursuit. Other police departments ban or restrict that maneuver. And this is not exactly isolated. Agents have repeatedly been seen, quote, releasing smoke bombs, tear gas, and pepper balls to dispense residents, including those who might be exercising their rights to try to just document it on video or cell phone. The Times reports that's happened repeatedly, and it's harmed Chicago police officers at one point. A community outrage in Oregon, where a woman was playing the Ghostbusters theme on a clarinet. This was outside a Portland Ice facility, and that was enough to get arrested. She was also tackled. That is the kind of force we are seeing routinely. Local news has a video of her pinned to the ground with the clarinet in the mud to her side. Speaker Johnson is fine with it. Take a look. Here is just fine. Melissa, those tactics, something as allegorical as a musical instrument falling to the side while this woman is manhandled, etc. And in some other cases, video that seems to suggest the federal officers were the source of danger, not there to fix it.
You know, again, this is all really alarming. This goes beyond simply enforcing federal immigration laws. It's creating public safety problems. It's also, and I think this is the real point, chilling dissent. I mean, the idea that someone playing a clarinet with the Ghostbusters theme song, she's not there to obstruct the issue. She's there to call attention to dissent, and she's not being permitted to do so. So we are seeing individuals who have First Amendment rights, who are permitted to be there. They're not obstructing the law enforcement process, and yet they're being manhandled. We've seen this with journalists. We've seen this with bystanders, with family members. It's gotten to the point where the punishment seems to be the fact that you get manhandled by ICE no matter what you're doing, that this is just supposed to happen. No one is supposed to be a witness. No one is supposed to raise any objections to it. And if you do, then there are consequences.
Yeah, and we're playing this up here, and we'll leave some of this up because it is important that people see this. We all understand that what's happening in your block or your community tends to affect people more than something elsewhere. But the president's made it very clear. I'm showing this video on repeat for people to understand. The president is saying this is coming to a town near you. So if it's not in your town yet, it's coming. He's named off different towns. He's talking about different excuses like sporting events, international sporting events, which are quite common. Many countries have security for that, and saying we'll either take it away or we'll do more in L.A. We're going to do more other places. This is happening. I think people have to understand that's the repercussions, and it's not going to be exempted from you just because you're in a farther away place that's not on the list yet. That's the background, Leslie, the use of force for what's going on at the Justice Department where you served. Jack Smith is incredibly careful. He's just spoken out in this interview with Andrew Weissman, who I mentioned is a former colleague of his and an MSNBC analyst. So in news world, we don't look at it as the exact same as a completely independent conversation, but it certainly was newsworthy. And Smith is so careful. I mean, he's prosecuted people without fear or favor, war criminals, corruption cases. He went after John Edwards. People said, oh, that's a big Democratic politician. He said, well, I'm just going after the evidence. And that's what he says he did in the Trump case. Now we're hearing for the first time, and that's by way of introduction to him, saying that the deal that the Trump administration blatantly, publicly admitted to cutting with Mayor Adams was an exchange. And he says that's wrong. He's never seen anything like that. Take a look at this on Mayor Adams.
Nothing like what we see now has ever gone on. This case in New York City, where the case against the mayor was dismissed in the hopes that he would support the president's political agenda.
One, do you share his view of the public evidence on that? And two, what do you think overall of what he's saying and how he is, I think, sounding an alarm, but doing it in his careful way?
So, yes, I agree with him. I've never seen anything like that. I used to work, by the way, in full disclosure, with Jack and Andrew, overseeing both of them. That was an extraordinary, some kind of a credible case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's striking. And have you seen him be this concerned in public before? I mean, he's so rarely speaks out that I don't think we've seen this.
I don't think he's spoken out until this, at least not that I've seen. And I've known Jack for quite a while, but I frankly have not spoken to him since he took the special counsel assignment, because I just didn't think it would be appropriate. But Jack is not out to make a name for himself as somebody who, unfortunately, everyone does know now his name, but that's not the kind of person he is. I mean, he usually stays within his lane and within his lines. And so I think for him to speak out shows how strongly he feels about these issues. And frankly, I think he's right to feel this strongly, because the whole Justice Department is being turned into a weapon against certain people. I'm sure it's functioning on a normal basis in, name that U.S. Attorney's Office, where they're arresting the local drug dealers and doing all the normal things. But this is a very different setup. Yeah.
Professor Murray, he also talked about what's failing on the results. One of the annoying things about us lawyers sometimes is, because we're steeped in law and rules, we talk a lot about those things and process, and it matters. But sometimes people listening say, process. What's happening? What is the result? And he made a very important point I want to play here. It's about 30 seconds, where he says, the way the DOJ is failing now means that our national security and our experts are actually compromised. And while no one's rooting to learn the hard way what that leads to, he's very clear on that. And he gave the example that everyone remembers, which was the wanton disregard for the security rules, which could potentially be illegal in the signal chats and extra. And he says, at a minimum, you'd look into it. That's what you're there to do. There's a national security division for a reason. And he is saying he doesn't believe that the DOJ currently is allowed or is doing that if somebody's on whatever team, Team Red. Take a look at this moment for your reaction.
If you think getting rid of the people who know most about national security is going to make our country safer, you do not know anything about national security. People in the Defense Department using Signal to communicate with each other about war plans, clearly classified information. I can tell you, Andrew will tell you, there is no administration, Republican or Democrat, that does not open an investigation in that situation.
He's saying, from his expertise, these policies aren't only wrong, but running the DOJ this way will endanger us, will make us less safe.
I mean, I think that's clear. I think a number of people have said this over the course of the last 2 months. The cuts in the federal agencies, the jettisoning of staff careers.
The situation unfolding right now is not just political theatre. It's a direct attack on the rule of law. The Justice Department, which should be independent, is being turned into a personal tool of power. Instead of investigating crimes based on facts, the leadership is targeting people first and then trying to build a case against them. Cities run by the opposition are being labelled as hostile territory, and federal forces are being deployed not to protect citizens, but to intimidate and control. Public events like the Olympics and World Cup are being used as excuses to expand federal power. We've already seen how this looks on the ground. Agents using tear gas and smoke grenades in Chicago, ramming cars, and even tackling a woman simply for playing a clarinet outside an ICE facility. This is not law enforcement. It's state power used to silence dissent. Meanwhile, political leaders like the Speaker of the House claim it hasn't crossed the line, which shows how far the line has already been erased. Jack Smith, a cautious and respected prosecutor, is warning that political interference at the Department of Justice is not only illegal, but dangerous. Gutting experts and ignoring security protocols doesn't make the nation stronger. It makes it more vulnerable. This is how authoritarianism grows. Not overnight, but step by step, as violence is normalized and dissent is crushed. Today, it's activists, journalists, and bystanders. Tomorrow, it could be anyone. If people remain silent, the justice system will no longer be a shield protecting citizens. It will be a weapon pointed at them.